picks us up. And by usually, I mean almost every time.
By the way, how is Hannah?
Oh, good. I'm going to see her in 2 weeks.
You are? That's right.
I'm going to.
I don't know. Oh, okay. Well, all right. I'll stay here then. Here. So. Oh, wow.
Dan
Yeah.
surprised us, but it's a good thing he told us because we had to force him to get a COVID shot. My dad, or he goes, "Oh, would Grandpa make you stay out in the car?" Yeah, for a whole week you have to stay out in the car because he wouldn't let you in the house. So we're taking a.
Where's your dad in Florida? Okay. Is it near Orlando then? Okay. Yeah, I know I've heard of it. So East Coast. Yeah. Uh-huh. Huh? He's great. Yeah, he's actually coming back in June for. Do you know Amy Schultz? Okay. Yeah, she's getting married. So, I mean, they've been friends since they were. Yeah.
Always, yeah, they're third grade, but they've always loved school. So that's been
the beginning of the year.
Great. And
that he met out there.
have,
She's from Crookston.
I can't
She
say
went to NDSU.
enough good things about Ryerson.
She worked with Straw Hat Players, and so her mom is Leanne Wallen. Or I mean, sorry, her aunt is
Plus
Leanne Wallen, who works here with the city.
Currently,
and so,
they are
just
in
like,
baseball.
It's so funny. He goes all the way out there, and he
camp
meets somebody from here.
through
So,
Moorhead Park.
yeah.
And then I have him signed up for golf, tennis, hockey camp. Tackle football. Makes them tired, they go to bed.
Hey,
good.
Mary.
Me too.
You already knew what it was like to have family far away.
God.
But this is a whole different. It's like going back to New York is one thing. Going to Hawaii is,
You're lucky. She put it on here.
Oh, okay.
I made notes, but yeah, I think that'll be good.
So this is
now you have to go visit her though. Now.
Start, seeing about committees like that, and then these were her questions that we can help explain a little better on what we want to do and maybe keep things moving along. But just her notes, so.
so fun.
All right.
I was just reading up on an email, so I had my facts straight before I give out information. How am I doing it? Doing pretty well. Hey, Connie, how are you? I'm doing well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
We're gonna miss your kitchen.
You know, it's really Matt. But he was saying something about the way, because
Well, there's a lot to be said to going back to in-person and just having this conversation and having a little bit of interaction with people. I mean, we were at work the whole time for the PD, but there were still a lot of people that we didn't get that direct contact with because they weren't in the office. And so I can assure that a lot of people receiving services really had a decline over that period because of the lack of services. Even though they may have been receiving some online stuff, it's just different than in person interacting with people. So yeah, it's good all around. Hopefully the trend continues to rates go down. And
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Moorhead Commission's meeting. Today is May 19. The time is around 5 p.m. Josh, will you please?
Sahama Mehdi.
Here.
Connie Auden.
Yes.
Deb White. Shinwar Mai.
Here.
Mikhail Pauline Normandin.
Here.
Eileen Cohen Pearson.
Here.
Jennifer Troska. And I'll just point out before we continue that if anyone is watching this on television or live stream and would like to call into the public comment line, you can do that at 218-299-5001. That's 218-299-5001.
Thank you, Josh. We have speakers I see today, and we're going to give 3 minutes. Everyone, please, when you want to speak, we have limited time for 3 minutes. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you for in person, finally. Our next item is going to be approval agenda and minutes for our meeting, April 21.
Move to approve the agenda and the minutes from our last meeting.
Moved. Then second, Josh.
I'll second.
Sahama Mehdi.
Yes.
Connie Auden.
Yes.
Deb White.
Yes.
Shinwar Mai. Shinwar? Oh, it looks like you're on mute.
Yes.
Thank you. Mikhail Pauline Normandin?
Yes.
Yes.
Eileen Cohen Pearson?
Yes.
Josh, can you hear me?
We can now, yep.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
Item number 4, citizens to be heard. Thank you so much. Go ahead, please. Yes.
My name is Janine Hansen. I come from Ward 3. And the reason, and I thank you for this opportunity to speak. I've noticed that there's been 2 presentations in favor of ranked choice voting, one to the council and then one to this commission. But no contrasting representation or presentation has been made to my knowledge. And I believe that in order for a truly informed decision to be made, that it's good to have both the pros and the cons. presented. Fair Vote Minnesota makes a lot of claims, but I don't think they hold up when you look at the facts. So I would like to request to be put, or for someone to be put on the agenda for June to present the other side. And I was wondering how much time would be allotted, and that was mainly it. I was wondering how much time we could be allotted.
Thank you so much, Janine. Any comments for Janine? No? Any question? No, thank you so much, Janine, for coming out. Someone will contact you very soon.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else who would like to speak? Moving our next agenda, we have law enforcement update. Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chris Martin with the Moorhead Police Department. I just have one new announcement and then just a couple of updates of things that have been going on over the last month. The police department is again going to sponsor a summer youth program. It's a program for youth that are in Moorhead. Sometimes if we have room, we do a little outreach to Fargo as well. But it's for 8 to 12-year-olds that are looking for something extra to do on Wednesdays during the summertime. We start June 16th with our registration at the Armory from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. We will allow the first 200 kids to register. We're going to operate it a little bit different this year. Last year we didn't have it because of COVID. This year we're going to operate a little different. Still, we're going to have it up at MB Johnson Park, and we'll be working on events up there, arts up there, physical activity, using their playground, using the phenomenal trails system that they have up there, and really setting up something new for our youth and students that are going to be participating with it. We will take a couple of field trips, and typically we meet for 8 weeks, and we're going to go for that again this year. 8 weeks after the registration, we'll be meeting on every Wednesday. We typically meet from noon to 4, but some of them may be adjusted in time. You'd be able to get the schedule on Wednesday, June 16th, if you show up at the Armory for the registration. And it's only in-person registration this year, so you do have to show up on the 16th at the Armory. Again, it's for students that are age 8 to 12 years old. In addition to that, I just wanted to thank the chairman for some of the contact that I've had with him over the last month. He was able to bring forward a citizen that had some concerns about unlawful activity that was taking place down on Bellesley Boulevard, arranged for an in-person meeting at the police department with that individual, and actually came in with him and helped facilitate the meeting. I think it was very beneficial for all three of us that were involved with it, and actually led to, or there was an arrest on one of the individuals that was perpetrating some of the vehicle break-ins, apartment break-ins, garage break-ins down there in Bellesley. So thank you for that. One other thing to point out that's occurred over the last month was that there were a couple different crimes that occurred at the Moorhead Mosque, the Fargo Moorhead Mosque. And I just really appreciate the outreach that we received from not only the chairman, but from members of the mosque, and working with them. We received a lot of assistance from them. And I think not only the police department, but the whole community had a very bonding moment from a very horrible experience that occurred there. So I thank you, I thank the members of the mosque, and just want to reiterate that we are here to assist with issues that arise, and I would welcome the board to follow in the steps of the chairman that has approached me on numerous occasions now, not just the last month, but before that as well, bringing issues to the department, and hopefully we can help work through those issues. So thank you. And if there are any questions, I'm available for that as well.
Questions, comment for Sergeant Chris?
I have one.
Go ahead.
last time, I think you brought up a new program that the Moorhead Police Department, can you just explain that again? Because I think that was that sounded very impressive, and I think maybe somebody who didn't watch or hear last time might want to hear that again.
Absolutely, I can. So we have our police chief, Chief Monroe, has established a new program. It's a cadet program for the police department. It's new to our department, but there are other programs like it throughout the U.S. This program is designed to develop and enhance the skills of current college students in the Fargo-Moorhead area that want to be employed in law enforcement. The cadet program allows individuals to have a firsthand experience working side by side with our community service officers, our parking enforcement, our volunteers, and our police officers, and not just working beside them, but also taking on the roles and responsibility of some of the duties that those individuals have. With that, there was a want and a need for our department to expand on the diversity that we currently have. So we worked with our Human Resources Department to develop a position that would be a cadet intern position that would allow us to hire anywhere between 2 and 4 individuals, and we could focus on hiring individuals of color to develop a diverse population of cadets that would be working with us. So I went out and recruited at MSUM, M-State, NDSU, and was able to get 11 individuals to apply for that position, 5 from M-State, 3 from MSUM, 3 from NDSU. I appreciate the faculty support for pushing it out there. The response was much better than what I anticipated. I was very happy to see what we had. We actually had interviews last week and this week, and we're preparing to make some initial offers to 4 of the individuals to get them on board with our department starting in June after backgrounds are completed. And it's a program that we will continue in the future. We're asking for 6 months to 24 months commitment from these students. So as they start to transition out, we're going to start to transition new people into those positions. Yes, you're welcome.
Any other comment, questions?
I just want to put on my professor's hat for a minute too, and just again kind of commend our law enforcement for the work that they've done on that, because as a professor, looking at students who want to go into certain fields, law enforcement being one of them, but sometimes some of the barriers that aren't so obvious, and I just really appreciate that our department is being very proactive about it and really looking at what are some of the ways that we can change things to, to have different outcomes, to have greater a more diverse representation in our law enforcement. And, again, I think about different times like first-generation college students that if they want to do an internship, but so often now internships are not paid. And if you are working at trying to pay your way through college and help your family out, things like that, sometimes that's the thing that keeps you from being able to go into those fields. And so the work that we're doing here is really commendable, and I think will have a long-term impact. So I just wanted to say that again, how much I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Deb. Any other comment, questions? Hearing none, our next item, number 6, land acknowledgement.
Do we need to move this to the next meeting?
Yes, I need to talk to some people who are better equipped for that
Again?
than I am.
I'll move it to the next agenda.
Okay.
I'll point out for the next agenda item that I did add to your agenda. The last page of it is something Deb provided today.
The subcommittee, agenda number 7, you mean?
Yes.
Subcommittee planning, agenda number 7. Do you want to explain for us this?
I'd be happy to. Thanks, Mr. Chair. So yeah, I can kind of walk through what's on that sheet of paper, the last page of your packet. So I just put together kind of a summary of some of the things that we've talked about in some of the meetings about this. So again, just to refresh your memory, we've been talking about whether we wanted to start up some subcommittees. This is something that the Human Rights Commission has done in the past, that they used to have subcommittees that would allow for the, different members of the commission to kind of take the lead on different activities. And also, they've had these subcommittees be an opportunity for people who aren't on the commission to serve. So you could have a subcommittee that is looking at, again, say planning, helping to coordinate for things like Indigenous Peoples Day, and it could be people on the commission, current commissioners, as well as volunteers from the committee or from the community. And so, we've talked through some ideas of what might be some different committees, and then we needed to really finalize that of fleshing this out of what committees do we want to have, what would the responsibility of those committees be, who would be on those committees, how would we pick people, and so on. So I just started off by summarizing these, and if our chair is acceptable to this, then we could run through this and just kind of work on fleshing this out. This is where we said we were going to, dedicate this meeting to making these decisions. So the first part would be, what committees do we want? And so the ones that we have talked about, and this is just one model, we could totally throw this out and start with something different, but one model would be to plan it around things like we have different events. So some of the events that we work on are things like Indigenous Peoples Day and Juneteenth are two that the city now, we have made those sort of more official, recognizing those specific events. And then Pride in the Park is another one that we have frequently, I think since before I was on the commission, we've done a booth at Pride in the Park. So those are three events that we have right now that we have been involved with, and that there could be others. So you could have one committee that could work on events, one that might work on education, and a couple of things that were tossed around would be things like we often will have a speaker, and so they could work with Josh on determining speakers and scheduling those. We've also, this is just something that came up in our meeting with Delray Williams, who was the former chair of the Human Rights Commission before she was mayor. They used to plan, they had like a thing in the Moorhead Center Mall where they invited different organizations that did human rights work, from the community, and they did like a tabling fair, a fair where people could come and meet these different organizations. So it could be, I'm sorry, I'm skipping ahead. That's on the next one. We've talked about doing our community listening sessions repeated every year. We did that last summer, so that might fit under education. The next one, outreach. And that's where there could be this community organization, if we wanted to do something like that. That may be more than we want to bite off right now, do an organization fair. Or we've also talked about having a liaison who would be our contact person for the Fargo Human Relations Commission and for the state human rights organization that they have. So that might be another one. And then the last one that we discussed would be just somebody who is the point person for our Human Rights Awards every year. So, that could help on doing outreach to get the word out about those awards, just some of the planning things, rather than, again, just leaving everything to Josh, who always does a great job, but, this is something that we could do. So those were 4 possibilities. So maybe the first question would be, do you want any of these? Do you want all of them? Which ones do you want? Do you have other ideas? So how about, if that's okay with the commission, what should we start with? That is, which of these would you like? It's probably maybe overly ambitious to think about doing all of them right now. Which ones would you like to have? What do you think would be good for us to cover at this point?
Thank you so much. To me, I absolutely agree with this, and all of them looks good to me. Should we to vote for this, or I don't know what we should do?
I feel like all of them are great. I mean, we already do a lot of this as a commission, so why not just keep doing them and have people step in and help us? I mean, there's nothing here that we're not already doing, I don't think. So I think we should try and do all of them. Not be great at it at first, but it's a learning curve, right?
Any other comment?
I would only say that if it was put to a vote, and I know I don't vote, I would say number 2 with the education, working with staff to identify and schedule speakers, and then planning our community listening sessions. We worked on that last year with the listening sessions. It was hard during COVID to bring people into meetings. It really was, to get a participation. I don't think we should push that off. I think that's something that we should move forward with sooner rather than later. And then with the events are coming up, and I think we already have commissioners that are involved with some, if not all of those, but I think we should continue to be involved with those too.
Josh, you want us to vote, or what we should do?
Sure.
Let's vote then.
So should we have all of them? Is that what we're saying?
Yes.
Move. I'll make a motion that we adopt these 4 subcommittees, that we form 4 different subcommittees to work on these different activities.
Let me make a motion. Can I get a second then?
I'll second.
Yep, get a second. Josh, you want to call?
Sahama Mehdi,
Yes.
Connie Auden,
Yes.
Deb White,
Yes.
Mikkel Pauline Normandin, Eileen Cohen Pearson.
Yes. Okay, then the next question would be, are there other responsibilities on here that I've missed, or do you feel, I don't know that we should add a lot of stuff, so do you feel this is kind of sufficient for right now in terms of what each of them would do? Okay.
I think so, yes.
And then I guess we should think about what would the process be for, should we just have Josh do like a, sign up for the commissioners, everybody try to, with 4, we could even have more than 1, but maybe have an expectation that everybody is on at least 1?
I'll say yes.
So maybe for starters, not to make it too complicated, that Josh, if we could have people let you know which ones they would like to be on, and we can see, and then if you wanted to do something maybe similar to, again, this is not, we're just kind of we're inventing the wheel here. When we do council appointments, the mayor does it, and so you could have something, if people put down their top choices, then if everybody signs up for the same one, then that would be a problem, but maybe if we rank our choices, then the chair and, vice chair, if you wanted to decide. I don't know what other people think, like what process we would like to use in order to figure out what subcommittees people would be on, or should we wait and see if we have a problem, or maybe they'll just fall into place?
I think you should rank them. I mean, why wait for a problem? We should have a solution before the problem happens.
So have everybody rank their top choice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in order from most to least. Okay. And then, Josh, maybe you have some institutional memory on this. How did they get volunteers? Is that something we could just do informally? Could we put it up on the city page? Like, so say you wanted to get some people who might want to help with things like the events, how would?
I think you could do both. I think informally you could search for volunteers, but yes, I think we could also put out a request for volunteers.
I had another idea, maybe people who have maybe applied to be on the Human Rights Commission but aren't, maybe we could somehow incorporate them and see if any of them want to volunteer, and then they could
Good
get a
idea.
little taste of what it is, and,
It's not a big list, but we could certainly
right,
include
but I
them.
mean,
Yep.
5 people, it's 5 people that might be excited about doing some kind of volunteer work.
I agree, and I think that's the nice thing about it is that, there's several people who said they'd like to be on HRC, but we have a limited number of seats, and sometimes, people have terms and they go for a few years, but this would be a way for more people in the community to be involved with the work that we're doing. And so just an opportunity to have more voices involved, so I think that's good. So we could come back to that at our next meeting of ways that we could do some, maybe have an announcement out about it if people would like to volunteer with that, and then we could distribute it in different ways. The only other thing I put on here would be, what are your, again, I'm not sure how they did it in the past. Do we have expectations about, and maybe it would depend on the work they're doing, how often they would meet? Would the person who's the commissioner, would one of them be like the chair, serve as the facilitator for that committee? Or I thought we should talk through that. What are our expectations about how these committees would function? Imagine things like the awards one, since that's really focused on a particular time of year, it wouldn't make sense for them to be meeting throughout the year, but they could meet, leading up to it, make sure that they're meeting so that they can work on preparing and getting the word out, and then maybe help with things like when we do the activities to recognize the people who've gotten the awards, but other ones may be ones that need to meet more often. So what are people's thoughts on that?
I would think the commissioner would be the chair and kind of go out from there. So they would be responsible for overseeing the volunteers and getting them together and be the liaison for communicating what they're doing back to the entire commission.
It would also make sense, depending on what committee or subcommittee you're on. If you're on the education subcommittee, you might have to meet more often to get speakers lined up or figured out for meetings and planning things, versus the awards, that's just one time of year. You might have to meet like 2 months in advance to make the letter and decide how you're doing that and so on. So it doesn't make sense to have every subcommittee meet on a regular basis, but I agree that I think the commissioner should be the one, because we're the ones that are aware of the dates. You can't expect somebody to know, oh, we should meet because the award's coming up just randomly. So
I agree with them.
That's all I had related to. Is there anything, does anyone else feel like, are there other things we need to spell out tonight? And I think maybe the best thing would be once we start working on it, more questions might come up,
Hopefully we
Yeah.
can add things if we think it's important.
Yeah.
I do have a question. Are we involved in Pangea? Is that something that's the city, or do we get involved with that?
That is a good point, because in my understanding is in the past, the HRC was more involved. And then 2 years ago, Delray Williams came back and asked us if we would, at least we volunteered for the hospitality room. And so that was our kind of first putting our toes back in the water to be involved. But that, again, could be something like, that could be something that the events committee was looking at of doing things like that. It could be, I don't know if it would be under events or outreach, probably could be either, but yeah, stuff like that. Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the reasons we had Delray come in, like we try and schedule her right before Pangea as a guest speaker to kind of just tell everybody again what it is, and then we do try. Last year, of course, we didn't do anything, but I do know we were volunteering for the community room or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't remember, when is Pangea again? Is it
In November.
November?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a great event.
Okay, we're moving item number 8, reports, announcement, upcoming events. Lisa, you guys want to say something? Oh, you have reports? You go ahead then.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to report on things related to Juneteenth. So even though, so we haven't had our, if you recall, we don't have our committee yet. So I've been attending the planning meetings for Juneteenth, and we had some different questions. So one is I just needed to confirm, City Manager Molly asked me to confirm that would we like to be the HRC listed as as a co-sponsor? So they've invited us to be one of the sponsors of Juneteenth, and it is, again, it's an official event. So let's start with that. I just needed to confirm that we'd be okay being listed as a co-sponsor.
Sounds great to me.
Okay, good. Because that means then we would be able to like put it on our city webpage and things like that. So, and it is June 19th, and it will be in Gooseberry Park, 10 to 3:30. So one of the things that they would like to know is if we'd like to do a booth for the Human Rights Commission. And if we did it, we could do it similarly to what we've done for Pride in the Park and split it up so that, you know, nobody has to be there 10 to 3:30, but have different members of the commission there at different times during the day. So that's my second question. Would we like to have a booth?
I would love to.
Okay, great. And in fact, one of our speakers, as you recall, they've invited our chair, Connie, to be one of the speakers. And so I'll be getting information to you about that, or they'll be passing that on to you. But they've got several different, it's going to be a really fun event, a lot of different activities, social things, dance and music. And then they've got some different folks, some of our city leaders that will be speaking on some different things during the day. They're also hoping, I'm going to see if Moorhead Parks and Recreation, they'd like to see if they want to have a booth. And the library, I'm going to be talking to them. And I was going to follow up, I know with COVID restrictions, you and I can talk separately later, but they were wondering if there's any chance that Moorhead PD, and obviously you can't speak for fire, but they were hoping maybe for not that whole time, but maybe like an hour or 2 hours, if could come down to do an outreach thing like we do for Night to Night.
Yes, I had put it out to our sergeants already, and I can touch base with you
Great.
in regards. After the last meeting, I talked to them.
Okay, great, thank you. So that's all I have on that event, and I did hear, have someone who, our former vice chair and state representative Heather Keeler asked me if we were working on Indigenous Peoples Day. So we'll have to, now that we're getting that committee going, we'll have to get that moving ahead so that we can have some folks working on that for the fall. And that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Lisa, you can go ahead if you want to say something. We have 3 minutes limited for our citizens, but yes, you can go ahead. A little bit.
Hello, hello?
Yes.
Oh, there we go. Thank you, Connie.
Yes.
Yes, I'm just here to support the request for ranked choice voting for a speaker so that both sides may be heard respectably and that the decision is based on an informed choice, not social pressure from one side. So I'm just here to stand in agreement with the previous presentation from Janine. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Any other reports? So I just want to talk about the Moorhead incident, Moorhead Mosque incident, and the Moorhead Mosque incident was a shocking moment for me because I was not expecting this happening in Moorhead. And this young man was 22 years old. He painted bad words to the place that I call the best place to be, and the place that I met with God. He called it a joke, but it was not a joke. To me, I want to make clear this was not a joke. But yet again, I call a meeting for my community to forgive him. But if you ask this question to yourself, why am I forgiving the guy who insulted my place of worship? Because it's all about ignorance. It's all about people who are different from them. terrifying for the difference. It's about you need to be able to look down for the others in order to your own low self-esteem. So as a Muslim community in Fargo Moorhead area, we have decided to forgive this individual, and we are not expecting anything from him but to learn from this and do better in this beautiful community. Just like every one of us, he has a mother, father, sister, brother, grandmother, grandfather, friends. And imagine their situation now. We are looking forward to welcome him and his family to our mosque to learn more about us. Now, if you think this is kind, we learn this from Islam, the book of Quran, and the examples of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Peace be upon him. The good thing and the good news was all Fargo Moorhead united against hate. We stand up to promote tolerance and inclusion more often than not before. When hate flies up, good people rise up against it, often and greater number with strong voices as well. I want to thank a lot of people here. I want to thank the Moorhead Police Department for the hard working on this case and many other cases going on in Moorhead. I want to thank our police chief who was standing in front of our mosque while we are praying a Friday prayer the other week. I want to thank Sergeant Chris Martin, who was available whenever I call, even sometimes when he was on vacation, answering his call and connecting to the other officers to the community who have problems in many ways. I want to thank our city manager. I want to thank our new mayor, Fargo Mayor, Madam William Del Rey, and many others who all stand with us. There was a 5-year-old boy who came to the mosque to clean up. This boy, I saw him, I videotaped him cleaning in front of the mosque. This is what I want to see when such thing happen in Fargo Moorhead area. Thanks, Fargo Moorhead. Any other reports? Moving to our next item number 9, new businesses. Hearing none. It's still 5:30. Anyone want to say something? Okay, this is good then. Thank you and good night, everyone.